Steve Quayle, thank you for joining us today on USA Watchdog, and this is brought to you by by the Satellite Phone Store. And let me tell you, there are a lot of things that you should consider getting behind this backdrop. But let's go off with your sources. Your sources are saying war is a locked-in lead pipe cinch, correct?
Correct, and as proof of that, the Russians have warned over and over that there is nothing that the West has that can counter their hypersonic missiles, true, that can counter their multiple independently targetable reentry vehicles that are 25 megatons, and 6 of those 25 megaton nuclear warheads can be carried in one Sarmat missile. Okay? Then the Yars missile, which are intercontinental ballistic missiles, are being moved around at night. They have portable launchers. And I want to share something. How is it that people, Greg, will listen to some of the biggest liars in the West? And I'm saying this, the United States has no veracity in the world's eyes. Somebody says, well, how do you know that? Because I know a lot of people that basically live in the world where they're hanging their heads because they know what's coming is true. It is the biggest lie. The American defense posture is this is going to be just simply kiloton nuclear weapons, tactical, and there's going to be no intercontinental ballistic missiles. That's wrong. That's a lie. And I believe that the president's being lied to by the military industrial complex, and I do not believe he understands high technology. That's not a put down, it's an awareness. I do not know of any more effort that the Russians could make or anybody could make to try and say, look, we have all this advanced technology. Like today, a piece of information. All of the Russian submarines, even the ones that are in port or their submarine maintenance areas, are out to sea. Out to sea. The Russian subs are out to sea, and it appears that the United States defense posture is out to lunch, okay? Oh, and by the way, it might, how do I say this? It might be informational, everybody, that when the Pentagon locks down, they order pizza in. I'm not being sarcastic. The worst assumption that I've ever heard in military history is, well, Russia won't use their weapons. They won't use intercontinental ballistic missiles. They'll use tactical weapons in Ukraine. Russia, rightly so, sees they are in peril of an existential threat. Now, I want to share something. Everyone said, well, NATO will invoke Article 5. One nation attack, they all come to rescue. Not if they're all taken out concurrently. For the record, one Sarmat missile can take out 6 cities at once. And look, they've already said what they're going to do. They're going to hit the defense industries. They're going to hit the military bases. They're going to hit all areas of protection of the West to make sure that their minds that the United States can no longer threaten anybody. We're not the biggest dog on the block. We do not have the state-of-the-art weapons. And oh, by the way, Russia has complete electronic warfare dominance. Simply put, all of our technologically, supposedly advanced aircraft, missile cruisers, everything that the military has, maybe with 1 or 2 exceptional aircraft, are subject to basically being painted by the latest 3-phase radar, that 3-phase array radar that Russia possesses, and there is no such thing as stealth. There's no such thing anymore. This is open source, Greg. This isn't top secret, but I can tell you this, just in the last 24 hours, I was made aware through another friend of mine that some of the people he knows are headed to Uruguay, believe it or not, and they're deep in the intelligence community, and they're headed to South America, not next week, but now. Look, here's the thing.
Why? Why are they headed
because
to South America now?
Because they know that the United States cannot sustain intercontinental ballistic missiles with 25 megaton warheads. They know, and Russia's been clear, we're going to hit this, we're going to hit this, we're going to hit this. All of the biggest bases, and for the record, there is not, look, I live in Montana. A couple hundred miles north of me is Malmstrom Air Force Base. And those are silo-based missiles, but guess what? Nobody fires to test the missiles out of silos. They take the missiles out of the silos, move them to Vandenberg on the West Coast and fire them. Look, People have got to get real. You've got to put your emotions on the side. You've got to look at the preponderance of evidence. Every single weapon system that Russia has demonstrated to the West is operational and functional. We have not done so because I don't believe most of our weapons are even in the condition where they can, have any effectiveness or counter-effectiveness. I believe Martin Armstrong couldn't be more correct. Independently of Martin, God bless him, my sources, and I guess you'd say my podcasts, and just the world I've been in on talk radio and, guesting on hundreds of shows, there's no change in what I'm saying. What has changed is the covetousness of the West in wanting to break up Russia. I want everybody to understand the West went on record saying, oh, you take this NATO country, you take this part of Russian territory, you take Siberia, oh, you take the Urals, on and on and on, mountain range. So the United States effectively, in my opinion, by failing to provide the civilian population with any viable civil defense, is already defeated. And especially this, I don't have a defeatist attitude. I'm telling you that technology that is advanced and has the ability to take out, for instance, Poseidon nuclear torpedo drones, those things are capable of carrying 100 megaton warheads. And the United States poo-pooed it, yet Britain knew that there were some off the coast, off their west coast and east coast, and they were looking like mad. They never found them. So it's important that people recognize something, and that's this. If Martin Armstrong, no, I won't even say if, as Martin Armstrong, and I believe I'm right, I believe we're both right, biblically, in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every word be established. In a number of days, 10 days, $7 trillion in debt comes due. And ladies and gentlemen, 7 trillion, that's 7,000 billion. And we, the United States, cannot cover 7 trillion. And the people that are the debt holders don't want more T-bills, T-bonds, T-notes. They want no paper with accelerated payoff. Look, we don't have the money. And yet, I want everyone to understand something. The United States is not on a wartime economy. We do not have the industrial base. We do not have the raw material base. And for the record, all of our high technology aircraft, again, I want to say this, they cannot penetrate some of the new defenses. Even if they fly low, fly fast, come from different angles, there is no holes, or there are no holes in the Russian defense. And Greg, will you put up that article? Because I want people to understand something. The one I sent you.
This is a pretty good aircraft, the F-22 Raptor. Yep. B-21 Raider, China's 1,000-kilometer hypersonic air-to-air missile, aims to redefine air combat. In other words, they can shoot these things down from 1,000 kilometers away. And hypersonic, yep. How fast does it get hypersonic? I don't know what they're claiming is hypersonic, but how fast does it take to get from one aircraft to another when you have a hypersonic missile that can cover 1,000 kilometers in 3 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever?
Yep, and here's the thing. Whenever announcements like that are made, you've got to understand they already exist. It's just like the story, Germany's going to send Taurus missiles to Ukraine, and we're thinking about it. No, it's already been done. So when an acknowledgement like that is made, what that basically means, ladies and gentlemen, is that we have nothing. Now, why do we have nothing? I believe it's a systematic treason of the United States. Our government officials were just seeing the big abomination of damnation, those are my words, all of the shenanigans to absolutely undermine President Trump's first presidency. If you don't like President Trump or do like him, that should make everybody in America suspect. Well, these illegitimate sons of hell, they don't care who is the president as long as they control the president. And at the end of the day, all the money in the world, it wants one thing, Greg, and that's control. But we are, in my opinion, if things don't settle down from what I'm being told in the last 24 hours, I don't think we make it 2 or 3 weeks. And it's not going to be tactical. I want everyone to understand that. That's bovis, that's bovine BS, bovis, my new word, but it's incredibly short-sighted. We've had cases where the Russian black hole submarines untraceable, untrackable, have surfaced right next to aircraft carriers, the biggest we've got, and then simply stayed long enough to be seen and then submerged, and they couldn't even be followed at that proximity. I think it's important for everyone to understand that the Pacific Missile Theater Command, located in Quayle, is going to be the defining moment for the entire South Pacific and South Pacific battlefield to be taken out. China will hit PACOM, Barking Sands base, on the island of Kauai. I said to Greg earlier, I said, boy, I wouldn't want to be in Mark Zuckerberg's bunker because it's going to be horrific. We're not talking about kiloton weapons. We're talking about megaton weapons. We're talking about independently targeted reentry vehicles where Greg, you can steer those things. There's nothing the United States has that can stop it. And that's by design. We can't even... Go ahead. We can't even produce hypersonic missiles.
And unless Trump walks this 50-day thing back, which I don't think he's going to do, and he's being told that we can defeat. Anyway, I wanted to bring this up. This this is the escape zone bags. The military, I hear, is buying these, and they are these Faraday bags. And I'm trying to get this up. This is the small one. This is the small one. And this is Faraday, which means, for electromagnetic pulse that could happen with one of these nuclear attacks. You can put your batteries, your stuff. This is the small one. The big one, I swear that I can get inside of it and they could zip it shut. It's huge. This is huge. This could fit this battery. I've been having this battery on and been showing you this for I don't know how long. And let me just turn it on here. I haven't plugged it in for a year. And here it is at 97%. I just turned it on. 97%. I have several of these, and they have the batteries to stack on top of this. And I can't tell you how many people, Steve, have written me and said, I bought this a year ago or 6 months ago or 2 years ago, and we had this storm, and it knocked out my power, and I rolled this thing out of the closet, and boom, I have a refrigerator back. You got to have something that we don't have to go out at 3 o'clock in the morning, and these storms that we just had some roll through Missouri at 3 o'clock in the morning. You have to have something you can just plug in. You don't have to pour gas in it and start boom, boom, boom. And this is what's so beautiful about this. And I wanted to come back. I just went ahead and did a little research with this about the power. This is the USA Today, and this is the map of the United States. You can see it's not very clear, but you can see there's Florida down there. And look what this is going. This is just normal power outages for the 21st of July. And here we have 3,800 without power. Here in New Mexico, there's 280 without power over here. 280 people without power. Up here in West Virginia, 1,300 people without power. Here in St. Louis, because of these storms, there's almost 1,000 people without power. There's all kinds of people without power. This is just a normal day. This isn't some hurricane or some tornado or whatever that's hit the country. This is just a normal day. And I tell you, the people that write me and say, I bought this thing and I'm so glad I did. So this is what, and if we have some kind of a nuclear exchange, we will fire some nukes back at Russia. So they won't go unscathed. But still, what kind of a world are we going to be living in? Power is going to be a problem. And then we have...
And again, I want to say something. Naivety does not keep anyone alive. I'll say it again. Naivety, along with denial, will keep no one alive. Ladies and gentlemen, the globalists and their Luciferians, that means, good night. Lucifer was kicked out of heaven, a cherub, basically is controlling the world's governments in order to destroy humanity. And Jesus said, if God didn't shorten the days, there'd be no humans left.
No flesh left, you're right.
And I'm telling you this, 250 million Americans are, and this infuriates me, I'll use that word because it's less offensive, because the majority of people, Greg, that are avoiding the obvious are in the 250 million people that are going to be gone in 60 seconds, or let's just give them 120 seconds, or let's give them 210. In other words, in under 3 minutes. Because if you look at the population densities, that's where you're going to see some of the most drastic hypersonic hell moments that there are. Because again, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't speculation. This isn't somebody just saying, I think we're going to have a war. No. Everything is in motion, everything is in play, and we're all about to come up on Judgment Day. And we let our government run bat manure crazy, and basically allowed so many illegalities to stand that now there's no justice, in my opinion, throughout the whole land. So Greg, we're at a very crucial turning point, and it can turn on a dime. I'm told the people that are watching, like the National Reconnaissance Office, NRO, are astonished at how many Russian, hear this out, intercontinental ballistic missiles on their portable launchers are in motion. That's taken them by surprise because the United States has our intercontinental ballistic missiles in permanent silos, which, by the way, none of them have been tested. Russia tests all of their weapons. We don't have, and please hear this out, everyone, we don't have an industrial base. We can't even produce enough 155 millimeter howitzer shells to feed Ukraine. And think about this. Between Ukraine and Israel, they've gotten pretty much the majority, and my sources say up to 80% of the war-making capability or defensive capability that the United States has. So where does it get replaced from? And it's insane. So why, Greg, if this is a true number, 80% of the U.S. military stockpiles are gone. 51,000 man-pads were basically given to Ukraine. There's not that many tanks in Russia. You know where those man-pads went? Shoulder-fired missiles that could take out aircraft.
Criminals.
Black market. Guess what? They went south of the border. In USA, a lot of them. I mean, a lot of them. We're talking thousands of them.
Which is why they haven't taken on the cartels, because they're armed. They're armed to the teeth with our stuff.
How do you know all that? Yeah, people ask me that. Well, people who are in that world, I happen to know a couple, not cartel members, but people I've worked with in the film, different films we've done, are really keen to know what's going on there in Mexico. So, ladies and gentlemen, how do I say this? The assumption that this is going to be, there'll be a couple nukes going off. Remember this, everyone. During the Cold War, it doesn't matter if it's Cheyenne Mountain, doesn't matter if it's a Greenbrier, doesn't matter if it's Area 51. If most people, knew how big by land perimeters that Area 51, it's not just a bunch of runways in a desert. I mean, it's literally, this will shake everybody up, hundreds of miles beneath the desert sands, multiple levels, and it is absolutely going to be targeted in numerous and multiple bunker-busting warheads. And we just saw a fire breaking out in the vicinity around Area 51, but also some interesting events taking place where the announcement is a couple hundred men came down with sickness. Well, most people would have to put, is it radiation sickness? What went on in Area 51 during the Cold War and post-Cold War? Well, a lot of, how should I say this, unusual atomic experiments took place. I talked to people that were there when they were building tunnels. And this isn't with the tunnel boring machines. We got to go here, Greg, because it's important. It's not the typical tunnel boring machines you've seen that are white and they have a bunch of drill bits. The ones I'm talking about use nuclear fusion for basically the drill bit area, and they melt the overburden, the stuff that you'd have to take out, just drilling and making a bunch of broken rock. And what's fascinating to me is that, again, we're seeing and hearing reports of helicopters by the hundreds training in different parts of the country, the U.S. We're seeing different people from the intelligence community. We're seeing people from ex-Joint Chiefs of Staff, the top guys in the military, not Mark Milley. Not him. But when we once had a Defense Department, actually somebody said, we had a War Department, we didn't lose. We had a Defense Department, we've lost everything.
Especially with the Biden administration, who I think intentionally, between Biden and Obama, and Trump tried to bring some of it back. But this is this monster bag. This isn't even the big one that you can put in. This is, of course, Escape Zone. This is their product, and I want to just push this out. It's huge. It's really just huge. You should be. You could put this in there. Also, this escape zone bags here. Let me just go full screen here. We have escape zone. Hold on, get in there with you. Yeah, this is also the escape zone. Whoop. Oops, I got it upside down. My goodness. The escape zone product here, which also also has the Faraday material inside, where you can put your cell phone in, which will keep it from getting messed up. Also, this is the same thing, the pouch for your cell phone or your satellite phone. We'll get to that in just a minute. This has that gold color that stops all this incursion into your thing. Here's another one for maybe the ladies that want to put a cell phone and some money and little stuff in there. Same thing. We have the ballistic backpack. It also has the Faraday material in it, which you can put in here your phone, your thing, and also has a ballistic shield that will stop a lot of handgun rounds. You have the purse, which also is a function of escape zone, and you look in here and it's black like that, and then you open this up, there's your Faraday material for that. And of course, I wouldn't be without one of these. I wouldn't be without this. And now with the big Faraday bag, you could put it in there and you could do a lot of good. And I wouldn't be without the bivy stick, which comes with a cell phone already matched to it. It doesn't make cell phone calls, and you just use the screen, and you can text and do a lot of texting. And then also we have the iSat phone 2, which is a great phone. It's not the military version, but a great phone. You can also text on this as well, the iSat phone 2. And given what's coming, and you can also put it in these Faraday bags that you can keep them safe. Given what's coming, you should probably be looking at some of these products, because this is coming. Maybe it gets put off until the beginning of 2026. That's what Martin Osmond said. By the beginning of 2026, yeah, I know you're not saying no, but he says, but when this 50-day runs out, it could start then, which that's what your sources are saying. I mean, this has never been done by a president, so people know this. No president has ever threatened Russia and said, "You give us 50 days, we give you 50 days, and we're into a couple of weeks of this already, or else." And Medvedev, who was the former president of Russia, is saying we should attack now. That's what Martin Armstrong was saying. We should just attack now. If they attack, they're going to attack, like Steve said, they're going to attack hard, and their ally is China. Go ahead,
Absolutely,
Steve.
And again, here's what I think the West lives in the world of, I got to be careful how I say this because people get so offended. Somebody said, well, just say it like it is. No, because then Greg gets feedback and I get feedback. The point is that there's no time to dilly-dally. Forget about who, and I'm sorry, I'm not a sports fan, but forget about being a spectator sport. We're trying to provide, ladies and gentlemen, we're trying to provide real-world solutions for all you. And again, sat123.com. I just sent a couple people to Europe with one of my phones. Their phones, they didn't have it. I said, here, take it and use it. And I want everyone to be recognizing this. It's interesting because it's people live in such a state of denial that, Greg, they've got to understand when there's no more water, when there's no more flush toilets. This isn't scare tactics, but if World War III doesn't cause you to maybe sit up and take notice, then I don't know what can. And for the record, then there are entities, terrorist organizations that have some of the most virulent, pathological, in other words, germ warfare, and they're going to release it. And all of the cyber attacks that are going on, please, everybody, if you do online banking, take this to the bank and take your lives back, because if you're counting on, well, look, I have my retirement and XYZ crooked banksters, count on that being gone. Count on it being gone. Every day, Greg, because I'm in the precious metals market, every day I get clients calling me, and it's pretty much every day, at least every other day, but lately it's been every day, saying, I bank at this and they won't release my money. They won't release my money. It's my money. Well, it's not like the commercial on TV. It's my money and I want it now. The bottom line is it's to the point where, ladies and gentlemen, legally, if you have your funds in a big bank, any of the big five, top five, they can take it if it's in a savings, checking, any form of deposit, and they can basically issue you worthless stock that you can't redeem.
And that's what the stablecoin thing's all about. They're trying to pack the banks full of this stablecoin junk for that $7 trillion that's rolling over in what? How many days is that rolling over in?
August 1st.
August 1st. That's rolling over in August 1st. We don't have $7 trillion. And you look at the gold market on here we have on Monday. You know, gold's up $50. Silver's knocking on the door 40. I mean, and you're telling, I want to make sure I get this right. So you have people calling you, you've been a precious metals broker for a long time, which is ear to the ground, you know, street reporting stuff, right? And your people are calling you saying, I want to buy gold, but they will not let me wire transfer you the money so I can buy some gold. Is that what they're telling you?
Correct.
This is from all over the country.
Yes, and my answer to that is go to a good SNL. You can go on the internet, at whatever town you live in, city, and check the rating, because if you're dealing with the big five, actually, if you're dealing with the big 12, and you can look up the 12 largest banks in the United States, if you've got money in those, I'm telling you, you need to reposition your assets into strong savings and loans. But I'm telling everybody, imagine this, and this is something we got to talk about. The day comes when this will be worthless, and I think my friend James Rawls said, cash will be king, and then cash will be trash. A powerful statement. I can't tell people, well, how long will my cash be any good? I can tell you, I can't answer that, but I can tell you this. Gold is for your savings and for your capital appreciation. Silver is for your barter. And so in essence, as all the prices, Greg, are indexing up due to, and I don't buy the BS of, well, we really don't have much inflation. Bravo Sierra, if you're watching the YouTube videos of people that work in Walmart or Target or any of the big box stores, they're showing you what the price is and what is now to be marked up to, and most of the time it's doubling. It's doubling. So I'll make it simple. Somebody's sitting with $1 million in the bank, and that's people who, you know, not everybody has that, but for those who do, that means that money is worth in purchasing power $700,000, because as the inflation heats up, it eats away at the value that the paper money basically represents, which is nothing. $5 bill's worth less than a nickel. And the point being, in purchasing power, we're going to watch the lack of availability. We're going to watch, and we are watching it, huge price increases, and then we're going to watch the quantity of whatever in boxes decrease, shrinkflation, and the average person is going to be indexed out. And I'm going to make a statement. I'm highly involved in AI programming and AI sophistication, the quantum computer realm. I'm not the guy that does that, but I have the company that runs that. And the deal is that when you understand how much I don't call it artificial intelligence, how many jobs are being lost. I call it alien infestation. Alien mean extra-dimensional creatures. Where are the jobs going to come from with all these people getting their pink slips? Oh, and where do you think the jobs will end up? Because as the automatons or robots become more sophisticated, humans, you have one place to go in history if you don't stand and at least speak out, and that's into the basically, you won't exist anymore. That's not scare tactics. That's not fear porn. And look, I can read back, and others have done this on different podcasts, all of their own documents, but how much, Greg, here's a question for you. How much evidence is necessary for a person to move on their own behalf and for their family's safety? How much? When's enough enough?
Well, this whole idea of depopulation, which has been going on for a long time, and you're seeing it take place in geoengineering, which they won't stop. You're seeing it in the CV-19 bioweapon shots, which they just came up with a new one for babies. You're seeing this in this awful war drums where they can knock out a lot of people right away, and you're seeing that, and they think they can live in their robot world in their underground bunkers when everything's blown up, and they're going to be okay, and they don't have to listen to Christ Jesus. But he does say for the people who are here, and I say this all the time, and Steve, I find myself saying this a lot in the last few weeks. What do you do? Well, this is why Jesus comes back. This is why Jesus has to come back. There'll be no flesh left if the days were not shortened. So for the sake of the elect, says Jesus, the days shall be shortened. Be the elect. You better be the elect. Well, buying food, which is another big one. Water filters. Yeah, that sprinkles on the cupcake. If you don't have a relationship with Jesus Christ, you're smoked. You're dead. You're not going to make it.
Well, again, the reason that I stay sane is because of the mercy of the living God. Because you can't know, once you know, you can't unknow. And it's interesting because with much knowledge comes much sorrow. Just all of the open information on the pedophiles in our government. Look, ladies and gentlemen, they're a bunch of sick bastards that would rape children, and it doesn't just end with raping them, sacrificing. That's not BS. That's not fear mongering. Since the rebellion against the living God, children have always been used to sacrifice, and Greg, because they have innocent blood, and I believe,
which is why God says He hates it when you spill innocent blood.
Yep.
Hates it.
Yep.
Hates it. It's in the Bible. Hates it. Let's just talk about this $7 trillion turning over. So what should people do right now if they got 10 days? What would you suggest? I mean, you're a gold dealer, so you're going to talk your book. That's what people, who's talking his book? But I don't see how, silver's now knocking at $40 an ounce. And, I think they could control it. I think it's breakout time. And gold
is breakout.
Is a tier one asset. We're talking about gold. It's tier one asset down says people are going to get this wrong. What do you mean get this wrong? Well, tier one asset means you can borrow against it. Well, they don't want it to be $3,300, $3,400. They want it to be $34,000. They want it to be $100,000. I mean, tell me what people should do now. Food, water. That's also big. We're not selling food or water, but canned food. You don't have to get all that creative. Dried potatoes, bags of rice. But tell me about this money rolling over the $7 trillion. It's a lot, and that's going to roll over in 10 days. Nobody's talking about CNBC. Nobody's talking about that. What should people do?
Well, number one, they should take their financial life back. And that means take nothing for granted, because those who take everything for granted have everything they own taken from them. I want to say that everyone who takes everything for granted, in this case we're talking about the finances they have in the banks or the brokerage, will have that ultimately taken from them. Because, ladies and gentlemen, it's a real force in the marketplace on an international scale that the abandonment of the U.S. dollar, China's dumping, Japan's dumping, and behind the scenes there's real stress because Germany wants their gold back, and a lot of the nations are making demands for the gold that they had in storage with the Federal Reserve. And there is no gold in Fort Knox. That's the biggest batch of, biggest batch of guano in the world. That's bat droppings. So what they should do first and foremost is get out of online banking. There is no database, there is no security that exists that the cyber hackers and attackers don't have access to. There are no databases that have not been hacked and attacked. Well, I haven't received my alert from LifeLock. Look, we're giving you the ultimate lock on life. Take your dominion over your own finances and get the canned food. Get rice. And by the way, rice is a big deal because China's going through a literal revolution because Mao's promise that he rose to power in China was everyone would have a cup of rice. Now in Japan, they eat a lot of rice too. Guess what, Greg? They're rioting over the rice prices. The rice price, not so nice, And so I'm saying that take control of your funds. Those of you who got huge, or even, major profit in Bitcoin or the cryptocurrencies, take at least half of it, convert it to gold, because as the world stage gets more precarious, gold is the only asset that isn't someone else's. It's not. There's no. Unless you pledge it, there's no claims against the gold you hold in your hand. Silver is for barter, and I recommend 1 ounce silver rounds, or even 90% junk silver. 90% junk silver means dimes, quarters, and half dollars. 1964 and earlier. That's 1964. Because when the panic comes, Greg, and I've been in this business long enough, when the panic comes, the premiums rise. And I think the other thing that's critical is, how do you get it? How do you get the metals you're ordering if you don't get them by FedEx? Most people will not accept UPS, not accept it, but UPS won't accept precious metals for shipment. I don't know if you know that.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, U.S. Postal Service. Now, there are some insurance policies, but the amount you got to pay for the insurance is out of the ballpark. You can't make enough money to cover that.
There's some people.
Here's what I'm saying. Okay, get your money under control. If you got cryptos, take at least part of it, and you've got some profit, take it. Someone says, well, I don't want to pay taxes on it. Well, if you don't pay taxes on it, and what makes you think you'll even have to pay taxes? Greg, we're talking about nuclear war. That would change a lot of things in what used to be not being available. Remember this, too, ladies and gentlemen. Get a water filter, a hand-cranked water filter, and preferably a purifier. Water filter will take out Pseudomonas, Giardia, and stuff like that. But a water purifier takes out even smaller, like viruses and stuff. And
Yeah.
Good,
my
brands.
people.
Okay. Yeah,
my people, I have the guys on, you go to USAWatchdog.com, it's the water filter people. The dry element knocks out 99.99% of viruses and takes out, pharma, waste, and all kinds of stuff. Really good water filter. Fritz Berkey and all that other stuff. Also, the air. I mean, that's why I have Weston Warren, Weston Scientific, and this bipolar ionization. I make the same whether he sells 1 or 1,000. I don't care. Same thing with everybody. And so I just have people on that you need their stuff. But would you be a buyer of silver? Because a lot of people say, why don't you talk about silver? Because I think silver's still a deal. I mean, silver is something,
Silver's the best deal. It's the most controlled commodity in the world. The devils that are in the manipulation of silver market, it's oversubscribed for every ounce that's in a deliverable form. There's at least 1,000 ounces. Some people say more than that in a hypothecated form. Do not buy ETFs, exchange traded funds. If you have ETFs, now that gold is rallying and silver's rallying, take it out.
So wait. So silver, so in other words, for every 1 ounce that you have in your hand, okay?
Yep.
There's 1,000 contracts on that 1 ounce. 1,000 claims.
Correct.
1,000. Silver's a deal. It's going to Bitcoin. It's going to moonshot. I mean, it's going to be $40 one day and $400, a month later or something. I mean, I'm not predicting that, but it's going to go up, way up. When Bo Poli calls it, it'll become unobtainium.
Right, and that's a good word. I believe Cliff High coined that term. But again, unobtainable at any price.
Yeah.
Look, we've seen the premium that we dealers pay, for instance, on Silver Eagles, minted by the U.S. Mint, go from $2.50, $3 up to $8 to $10 when they don't have enough. And we're coming into the summer now when the mint doesn't mint any more Silver Eagles, and they wait until the next year to start turning them out. This is 2025. But here's the thing. that which you have in hand is yours. That which you have in the paper, Mark. Greg, I can't articulate clear enough that when you see the nations of the BRIC nations, look, you can put 1,000% tariff on all the other nations, but they don't have to buy anything from the U.S. I'll ask you, what does the U.S. sell that you can't buy someplace else in the world? Tell me one thing.
You made your point.
Yep. So that's the point. Pun intended, but well, we just made a double point. The point, third, the bottom line, I love that because you get through all the garbage. The bottom line is that you can only put tariffs on people that are trading with you. The whole idea of the sanctimonious, self-righteous sanctions are absolutely destroying the United States. We don't have rare earths. We don't have gunpowder. We don't have lead. We don't have all the chips we need. And pun intended, when the chips are down, so are we. Look, you can have NVIDIA, you can have TMSC, you can have everybody in their, let's say this, right mind manufacturing, but there's a lot of water necessary to manufacture chips. There's a lot of energy necessary to manufacture chips. I would say this is probably one of the most critical things. People need to get a shortwave radio. They're about $200, a Sangean 909 or an ATS or a Grundig. Go on Amazon. They got some good deals. Now, I don't sell them, okay? I used to sell them 20 years ago, but it's a critical piece of communication gear. You'll at least know what's going on. Sure, there'll be a static, and depending on if we get high altitude nuclear bursts, we're going to see some charged particles in the atmosphere, and it might take a day or two or three to clear. But with a shortwave radio, the internet goes down, everything goes down, and here's what I'm concerned about. We are watching right now in real time. The rumors in the background are military satellites that are under the United States military control are being taken out. The first shot fired in any nuclear war will be the eyes and the ears in the skies. Well, that would be on the evening news. Nothing's on the evening news. All you're watching is Circus Distracticus, okay? It's a 3-ring circus of nothing but Bravo Sierra. It's just, it's go to sleep, it's hopium, and it's irrelevant to what the average person needs. And I'm telling everyone this. Look, Martin Armstrong tells you what his Socrates program is telling him. He knows some of the most powerful people in the world, but his sources are totally different than mine. I don't even know who his sources are, but I can tell you this. I know when I can get 2 independent sources, which have just happened in the last 24 hours, talking about World War III is inevitable and is upon us, Greg. I'm telling you that these are even coming from Russian sources. They're coming from intelligence agencies, and I don't know their names. I've made it a point in my life as a newsletter writer 30 years ago, as a podcaster, as a broadcaster, to never ask names because I'm more interested in the information. And if I don't know names, I can't give them up. Meaning, how do you tell when you don't know? Well, the point is that that's not playing dumb. That's a wise application. And I wanted to share something with people.
I will say this. Hold on. Say that. Just to buttress your thing. Armstrong has offices in China and in Europe and in Ukraine, and he says, I'm getting this from employees. He says some of this doesn't just comes from on-the-ground sources. But let me say this. So you were going to say, let me say this about your sources. Go ahead. It backs up what you're saying. You and Martin Armstrong sources are saying the same things. Go ahead.
And I think this is what people need to understand, is that when you have the 3-letter agencies and the agents that have quit and gone to other countries, you see some of them on YouTube, you see Alex Jones and others interviewing some of these people that are absolute career intelligence gathering specialists. It's sometimes, I was just looking for a little piece. Let's say this is the last piece of the puzzle, this little card here. It says, trust in the Lord and do good. and that's talking about Jesus. But let's say this is the last puzzle piece that has to go into place, and then you see the whole picture. I'm so sick and tired of people having their pet theories and their pet reasons why, 100 reasons why Jesus is going to come next week. He doesn't come next week. I'm on record. We're going to see the Great Tribulation. It's 42 months. It's not 7 years. There's not one place in the Bible. I won't argue with anybody. It's times and a half, 3.5, 42 months. And what's happening is now we're watching the ultimate intention of Lucifer himself. Lucifer became Satan when he wants to destroy all humanity. All of it. He's destroying the atmosphere. He's destroying the waters. He's destroying all of the green things on the earth. And we didn't get, I don't know how much time we have, but the situation in the Cascadia subduction zone and in the New Madrid Fault area, and all in different areas of not only the United States, but we just had pretty major earthquake off of the Kamchatka Peninsula. That's in Russia. We're seeing major earthquakes in Alaska. We're seeing really concerning earthquakes and volcanoes in Italy. If you want to see a lot of volcanoes, look at the Italian boot and look at all the sub-ocean volcanoes. And then even off 300 miles to the west of Oregon is the axial seamount. And every single day about somebody is warning that, boy, the Cascadia subduction zone, and I'll just make it easy, from Washington State to Northern California, from Mount Shasta to Mount Lassen, and all the way up to Mount Rainier. Mount Rainier is having hundreds of quakes a day. Sure, they're small, but they're not all small. And a very famous physicist with the USGS, you can look this up, Bernard Chouet, C-H-O-U-E-T, came up with his formula for, in essence, warning about volcanic explosions that take place after long period episodic quakes. So we're seeing strange phenomenon on the sun. We're seeing strange interruptions in the magnetosphere of the earth. We're seeing all sorts of anomalous events, meaning they're not going by textbook, and yet we're seeing on earth distress of nations, and we're seeing earthquakes in diverse places. That's Matthew 24 in the New Testament, Jesus speaking. That's Luke 21 in the New Testament, Jesus speaking. And why is it then that a nation of liars, in my opinion, the majority, not all, Greg, the majority of the House, the Senate, and the entire previous administration, and I hope it doesn't hold true with President Trump's, but we're I guess you'd say, an assortment of lying balls of snakes. And in essence, ladies and gentlemen, you've got to just incline your ear into knowledge. Ask yourself, are things better for you this year? That used to be kind of a corny political statement, but are you watching? Look, taxes. I live in Bozeman, Montana. The favorite, I guess you'd say, panacea for the state of Montana is raise the taxes, raise the taxes, raise the taxes. So we don't have sales tax, but we got property tax. And when do people get priced out? Greg, when they can no longer afford to live in their own homes, and that's when BlackRock comes in, buys up the mortgage packaged, everybody's mortgage, let's say, in all of Washington State or Texas, wherever, and buys them for 10 cents on the dollar, and then offers the people that own their homes or did own their homes to let them live there, but they have to pay rent. That's the end game.
What do you suppose will happen with the $7 trillion in 10 deals? I mean, could we get some earthquakes going off? They can't cover this up. Could we get
No, I think
you're seeing giant shocks in the gold. $50 on Monday. Giant shocks in the gold market. I mean, it was almost $1 on silver, 87 cents or something in one day, and all of a sudden, silver's knocking at $40 an ounce door. I mean, that tells you everything what's going on, and I think silver's still a deal. I mean,
it is, and again, where else can you buy an asset that has been held down by price for as length of time? And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, it is the most controlled substance in the world because I would call them this: the devil is in the details, but is in the central banks, and they control it until they no longer can control it. Until they no longer can control it. So great. Here's the thing. This is a video I did 5 years ago, I think. Cascadia is the big one. Many of the people that are being quoted now on the West Coast or the Pacific Northwest volcano labs and everything are saying get ready, it's coming. And this is, I noticed something.
This stuff can black the sun out.
Truth.
Go ahead.
Yeah, they cannot tell the truth because a lot of them are gagged. Okay, that means they'll lose their life, literally. They'll lose their job. They'll lose their pension if they don't just shut up. The reason that panic is in the marketplace is because can you imagine what happens to insurance rates? If you're in a zone that's facing a tidal wave, or if you're in a zone that's facing massive ashfall from Mount Rainier, but it's not just Mount Rainier, it's Mount Hood. Until a couple of years ago, there wasn't even any real seismic monitoring on Mount Hood. I know for a fact, I flew those mountains in a helicopter filming everything. And Mount St. Helens, that's smoking too. And so when you go down all of the volcanoes, as one of the geophysicists on our Cascadia volcano, but we said, look, 12 of the most dangerous volcanoes in the United States are on the West Coast. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is the thing. What does a 100 megaton nuclear drone torpedo do to the plates that are already moving? What does it do? It definitely doesn't help the matter at all. This isn't scare tactics, but you know, Greg, it's interesting. When people tell the truth, the people that don't want you to know the truth, dismiss it as fear porn. That term was invented by the Central Intelligence Agency. Fear-mongering, same thing. It's called neuro-linguistic programming. In other words, the words are repeated over and over, neural in your brain, linguistics. Oh, yeah,
I get that comment. I get that comment a lot, and I just delete those because it's just like, AI, get out, go away, get out.
And my answer is fine, die. Just die.
Well, I think, listen, go buy some, if you don't have money for, a battery, which I strongly suggest people should, get something like this, okay? Strongly suggest with a 100-watt solar panel, but just buy canned food in cases of water. I mean, you should at least have that. So if things go haywire, the last place you want to be is a gas station or a grocery store. That's the last place you want to be. I mean, you want to be able to hunker down until and maybe it'll blow over and maybe it won't, but at least it buys you time. Food and water and a full tank of gas can buy you some major time. Steve, your Cascadia Zone DVD, I'm going to put that up if you don't mind. I'm going to put that up and put a link up for that.
I think it's one of the most important DVDs. Obviously, I'm the producer. Obviously, I filmed some of this stuff, but and had other great cameramen in the air. But this and my other DVD, Mega Drought, it's not. How should I say this? Optional anymore. Mega Drought. We're undergoing, United States, a situation with all the seismic activity. This is not AI. For the record, I'm not AI. And I want everyone to understand something, Greg. When the quakes begin to happen, not just the San Andreas, not just the Northridge, not just the New Madrid, but even real scientists, not AI, are talking about the riverbed on the Mississippi River cracking up. Well, you've got a question of plate tectonics going on, and science doesn't have the answer to even, how should I say, some of the basics concerning what X-ray flares do to the continuity of the magnetosphere. And not only is it the magnetosphere, the ionosphere, what happens when you've got some of the most powerful weather modification technology going on? Yeah. And does that make certain parts of the Earth that has a lot of iron content, does that make us the great attractor? In other words, are we creating, let me just finish this, are we creating the very circumstances that we're bringing a lot of this incoming stuff that should have stayed in space upon ourselves?
Lee Zeldin at the EPA says that there's no man-made weather modification. There's no geoengineering. You can stop it. But let me get this in. So do you have a VOD, a video on demand link for these for the Cascadia, and also your whatever? Or is it just DVD?
It's just DVD, and I did that because of, we used to have a platform on Vimeo. I gotta be careful how I say this, but because of my stance on personal security, they wanted information that was way out of line, in my opinion, and in the different attorneys. So, in essence, everybody's fishing for everybody's information. The most important commodity on the planet is the large language model of everything known on Greg. Hunter, everything known on me, everything known on, Martin Armstrong. And ladies and gentlemen, you no longer exist as a human being. You are a biological data bank to be mined until there's nothing left to mine and then to be destroyed. Useless eaters, bye-bye.
Or a battery for the transhumanism. That's the other thing. And let's close with something positive from Christ Jesus, because we got to leave people with some hope. And people have to understand the powerful nature of Christ Jesus, and have to understand the powerful nature of Jehovah, his Father. And Jesus said, the one who sent me is greater than me. So Jehovah and Jesus and the Holy Spirit all exist. So can you close with something, Steve?
Sure.
To give people some kind of hope and something to hold on to?
Well, there is hope, but the hope goes beyond just the physicality. I think I said it earlier in this interview, knowing what I know, if it were not for Jesus, if it were not for the peace of God that surpasses all understanding, if it were not for the fact that the end of my life on earth doesn't end my existence. But unfortunately, people don't understand. The Bible says the living God is a very real help in the time of trouble. And we're in a time of trouble. We're in a time of troubling peril. And ladies and gentlemen, the peace that God promises surpasses all understanding. And what I think everybody needs to understand, the wonderful words of love that Jesus spoke. Yes, love. And he said, all who come to me will I in no wise cast aside. Though your sins be as scarlet, these are Bible passages, I'll make you as white as wool. Some of us who had every color of red in a sin in our lives appreciate that statement. And Jesus said, come unto me, you are heavy laden, burdened down with this, burdened down with that, Come unto me, that those of you who are heavy laden, you're worried, you're panicked, and I will, God's word is so true, Greg, I will give you rest. And First Peter, I'll close with this, casting all your cares upon him, Jesus, because he cares for you. The most peaceful, wonderful place is knowing, and Paul the Apostle, who, by the way, made this statement, we know if our earthly house is destroyed, we have our home in heaven. And for the record, I have seen Jesus face to face. For those who would criticize, have you ever seen him? Yes. And I also know what heaven looks like for when Christians will give an account, not for heaven or hell, but were we faithful with that which God gave us to do? Are you going to be a wise virgin, a dumb virgin, or are you going to be, your own strength? Nothing can kick my butt. I've heard somebody say that. I said, you want to bet? I'll give you one word, virus. The guy went like this. In other words, everything that they see isn't what will do them in. It's what we don't see. And we watch that with COVID-19. For the record, all messenger RNA vaccines and any derivative are bioweapons designed to destroy humans, to destroy human reproduction. And I mean this. Damn, in the sense of eternal separation from God, those who want to go after the children. How dare they? And any parent that lets their child be vaccinated with one of 72 vaccines, their blood is on your hands. And what a tragedy that so many parents will listen to the BS of doctors when you've had on, for instance, Greg, you've had some of the smartest people in the world.
Yeah, they were.
And they have. But people won't do their own homework. They won't do their homework. They die. So I would
Go ahead.
Huh?
Go ahead. Finish.
No,
I'm sorry.
I just say this. Ladies and gentlemen, what you see in the background, the EcoFlow power generators, I want to make this clear too. The power generators that Greg talks about, 97%, it's the solar cells, okay, that are designed to recharge that. You can't run a whole house on that generator, but you can provide for your refrigerator and your freezer. And Greg, I've done this. I know you've done something similar. I mean, you went into great detail, even beyond what I've done. But I just went into, I have a chest freezer, and I started looking at the prices of, like, let's just say, stew meat or whatever I was looking at. And I went, whoa, that's been in the freezer for about a year. And look what my wife didn't check. And here's the new price. Ladies and gentlemen, beef is going to be almost virtually inaccessible because the devils in the bioengineering of food want you dead. And if you won't eat their crap, their muyak, okay, then they'll have you eating, Soylent Green, and they'll call it pretty purple. I mean, Greg, it's this serious. Please take what Mark Armstrong said to heart. Please take what I'm telling you to heart. There are not enough, naysayers to take away from the reality. And ladies and gentlemen, act. Take your lives back financially and take your peace that the God of heaven will offer to you and get your heart right with Jesus. That simply means, Jesus, I made a mess of my life. I was a poster child for that personally. Forgive me, Lord. And I don't apologize for the Lord Jesus. Wow, what a mighty God we serve. So the peace of God that surpasses all understanding, you won't figure it out, you can't reckon it out, you can't work it out. But by faith, God will help you to walk it out. So Greg, God bless you and thank you again. SAT123.com. These will disappear at the first sign of a launch, any place, whether it's Iran or whether it's what will we do when Berlin disappears? Yes, it will disappear. What will we do when number 10 Downing Street disappears? What we do when France? And this is the answer. You see it right there, ladies and gentlemen. Greg's got his on. And you see that little
that was outside. It knocked out a satellite like in 5 seconds. It would would lock on. So Steve, the DVDs, your DVDs, the Cascadia DVD, and also that's right, Cascadia, the big one, and then also your Mega Drought. I'll put the links for those up at the end. Also, you have a newsletter that you have a lot of these contacts in.
Yeah, great. It's not really a newsletter. It's a up to a 20-page now. It's called Private Briefings.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you guys that from all over the world, and I know some of the people that, I won't drop names because I just don't do that, but I don't think there's anything else like it. And for 10 years of my life, I was a newsletter writer, and I listened to them all, whether it was Howard Ruff, whether it was Julian Snyder, Don McElvaney, all of those who used to write newsletters, a lot of them have gone off the face of the earth. And ladies and gentlemen, you've got to have knowledge. Knowledge is power. But more important than knowledge is the wisdom to know how to apply the facts, the knowledge, and put it into a stream of understanding. And once you have that understanding, to wisely apply that to each and every one of your own situations. There's a promise in the Bible that I love in the book of James. It basically says, if any of us lack wisdom, let us ask of God, who gives to all men generously, and he doesn't hold out. In other words, God wants people to have wisdom. So I'm just sharing, Greg, that please, everyone, I do not believe that sat123.com and the beready123.com and Escape Zone, there's going to be a panic, and we already know, because both of us know, one of the major stockholders in the company, Tina, basically, we know what they have in stock. Please, ladies and gentlemen, get what you see behind Greg. Get, for those of you who are concerned with communication, and we don't sell this stuff, get a shortwave receiver. You can't broadcast,
or walkie-talkies.
Get a receiver.
Walkie-talkies might be handed to you. Walkie-talkie wouldn't be bad. It's good for at least a mile. I have some that are good for at least a mile. And if you get separated, it might be something good to have and are cheap too. Steve Quayle, thank you for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com. What a pivotal interview at a very pivotal time. Steve Quayle, thanks for, again, joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.